Record. And we're going to start the meeting. So hello everyone, my name is Madison DeVries. I am the Vice President of Activities. And today we're going to be going over kind of what AS is, what we do, and then finally like how to join and answering any questions in relation to that. Since we don't want to take up too much time, we want you to go back to all your fun homework. I'm going to start the meeting off by throwing it over to our first speaker. So the first person that's going to talk today is Kennedy DeVries. Kennedy is a senator currently. She has been for a year, and she's going to kind of go over what Senate is. So I am throwing it to Kennedy.
Absolutely. Madison, did you want to share the PowerPoint so that we could get started with that?
Yes. Give me a second to set that up. Okay.
Magical. Okay, so hi, as Madison mentioned, my name is Kennedy DeVries. I am a senator at Fullerton College, so that means that it is my job to go to Senate meetings and attend committees throughout campus in order to help students, spread their voices throughout the campus. I wanted to briefly go over what Senate is and what kind of AS is. Associated Students is basically a group of students on campus that works together to help solve problems on campus and bring our voices to the president and leaders and administrators on campus in order to remedy different issues that we're struggling with, bring to light problems that students are seeing that maybe faculty and administrators are not seeing or not noticing on campus. And as a senator, that is the time of the meeting. That is a meeting that we host as Associated Students in order to group together all of the students on campus that are part of Associated Students so that we can work together to come up with ways to solve the problems on campus, draft resolutions that we can send to the president, get our voices heard throughout the campus. Senate is on Tuesdays from 1:30 to 3 p.m. and we meet for that specific amount of time, and sometimes it usually is every other Tuesday, but if there is something that we need to bring up, we sometimes will host meetings in between Tuesdays as well, just in case there is a problem that does come up or we want to discuss things further on different issues and anything like that. As a senator, you have a voting voice on Senate, which means not only do you have the ability to vote and participate in any decisions that we make and any decisions that executives make, but you also have the opportunity to voice your concerns and do anything like that on Senate. If you decide for whatever reason that you do not want to be a senator, Senate meetings are also still something that you should come and attend. If you do have issues on campus, we are here to help in any way we can. And so you can voice your concerns in public comment, and if you do so, then we are able to add that to the agenda for later meetings so that your voice will continue to be heard even if you are not a senator, as AS is really what its core value is not simply to represent senators on campus and their concerns, but also the concerns of everyone and anyone on campus in regards to all students. So voice your concerns, let us know that if there's anything that you're struggling with, and we will be there to help and try to get your voice out to people on campus who can change it, and we are people who can change it. So just let us know. And yeah, that is pretty much all you need to know about Senate. Is of course over Zoom, and once again the times are Tuesday 1:30 to 3 o'clock, and if you cannot make it to that, you of course can be an AS representative, which I think Madison is going to explain once I send this back to her so she can talk about committees. So I'm going to send this back to Madison. She's going to mention another really important role of AS representatives on campus, AS representatives and senators. So I'm going to bounce it back to her. Go ahead, Madison.
Yeah, thank you, Kennedy. So now that Kennedy's kind of talked about what Senate is, I want to kind of explain the committees. So committees are arguably the most important part of your job as a senator or representative. Both senators and representatives get to sit on CDO committees and then standing committees. So the two types of committees, standing committees, CDO committees, are where you can extend your voice outside of just the Senate meetings, where you can express your opinion on very specific issues, on things that affect the campus as a whole. So I'm going to talk about those two different types, and then we'll go into some of the example committees that you can see on the screen. So the standing committees are with the AS executives. This is a way for you to be involved within Senate. So each vice president and then the president of AS as a whole has a standing committee that works with that executive to put together their plans, the various events and activities they want to do. I know personally, as the vice president of activities, I have an activities committee, and my activity committee members are extremely invaluable in helping me put together the events and stuff that I want to do. And so this is a way for you to kind of express your opinion on Senate specific issues, things that you want to bring up and get passed within Senate. The other side of that is the CDO committees. CDO committees are probably where we have the biggest impact across campus. There are 30 plus committees, and these committees are with faculty and administration. So you're sitting in rooms with other professors, with the president of the school, with various leaders and administration of the school to help make decisions on issues both kind of big and small, so all over the spectrum. You get to make decisions about curriculum, about buildings, about rules in terms of coming back to campus. All of that stuff is done in committees. So this is where, in a lot of ways, we get to express our voices the most. Okay, so one of the reasons we wanted to have this webinar is to get more people in these committees. We currently have 10 senators and a handful of representatives. There are 30 plus committees, which means a lot of committees are without student voices. What's problematic about that is that as much as faculty and administration may care about us and may be trying to help us, they can't replicate the student experience. They don't really understand fully the struggles and difficulties that each of us are experiencing and that the students around us are experiencing. And so we have to have students there. And so I want to illustrate that point with a couple of key committees that I feel like really rely on student voices and really need student voices. So the first committee I want to talk about is the President's Advisory Council. This is usually agreed upon to be the most important committee on campus. Every decision that gets made gets run through this committee. Every committee I have sat on has had to send their ideas to this committee for approval, for the president to sign off on and let it actually occur. We need to have students on this committee. They're making decisions here that affect students across the board. And if you're making decisions about students, you should have students in the room helping to decide what works and what doesn't work. So I know the students that sit on this committee have a lot of influence. They're making and voting on things that are genuinely really important to the school. And they're having a lot of impact directly to the president because you're communicating directly to him what students want. The second committee I want to talk about is the Distance Education Advisory Committee. Now, this one is obviously a relatively new committee, but I think it's really interesting, and I think it demonstrates how students can have a voice through AS in really interesting stuff. So right now I know there's a lot of uncertainty regarding being online. Most people don't fully understand what's going on. A lot of students are feeling lost and confused. This is the committee that is working to try to address issues like that, trying to make sure students are successful. But to do that, you have to have students. Professors can only see whatever they're getting from their side of the Zoom camera. They don't know what students are going through. They can't speak to the student experience, but AS can. We are students. So being on this committee, presenting what the struggles you're facing, but also that other students around you are facing, is really critical for discussions on what to fix online. The third committee I want to talk about is also really important. This one's been around a little longer, so this is the Diversity Committee. Once again, this is another committee where you absolutely need student voices. You can't talk about being a student of color on campus or an LGBT student or a student with disabilities or really any student in a disadvantaged group if you're not a student. You can't represent those voices if you're not even a student yourself. And although administration and faculty do their best, you have to have people who can speak to that experience and can talk about what they're seeing, what they're experiencing, and how the school is maybe not helping or maybe working against them in a lot of ways. And so we have to have students in those rooms. Now, I don't want to take up too much time, so I'm going to kind of briefly explain the next two a little bit quicker. The Pathway Steering Committee is one that I am on. We address trying to fix this student success rate across the board, so making sure students have a good experience from when they decide to go to Fullerton to when they are at Fullerton College to then transferring and being successful after they leave. The Student Equity and Achievement Committee addresses making sure the school is more equitable, and so also is somewhere you need students to speak out on. And then finally, the Safe Return to Campus Task Force. This committee really interests me because I think Kennedy is actually the one serving on this committee, and they're looking at when we get to go back and what being safe looks like. So I think it's definitely a committee where you want students involved, but also I think it's just an interesting committee to be on in general. So the reason I wanted to go over these was I want to kind of illustrate for you guys some of the committees in which students have a really strong impact. We have to make sure there are students on committees. We have to make sure that our voices are being heard. It's, you know, it's kind of, we have to be in like the room where it happens. That has to be a thing. And so to do that, we need to have student representatives. We need to have student senators presenting their opinions and hearing those voices, right? And so hopefully, like, after this presentation, you will be able to come join us in that and help sit on some of these committees. But yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say about committees for now. I'm now going to throw it to our third speaker, which is David Robles. He is the president of Associated Students, and he's going to be kind of going over what AS has done in the past. So I am throwing it to David.
Thanks, Madison. Yeah, so like Madison said, my name is David Robles. I'm the president of the Associated Student Senate. And I'll be talking about some things that AS has been able to accomplish. So I'm going to piggyback a little bit on what Madison and Kennedy have kind of said, right? Because everything in here builds, right? So I'm going to go macro and micro. Some of the bigger things we've been able to do that I think are take care of sort of basic needs of people is one that's listed right there, right? Gender neutral bathrooms and free period products. This is something that was on the campus's radar and was not at all addressed properly until a student resolution was drafted, right? And that's one of the ways, one of the other ways we make big changes on campus, right? So there's the sitting in committees and passing stuff through there, and then there's what you might want to call more direct action of writing a resolution and sending that up to what Madison described as the President's Advisory Council, right? And then the school takes action. And that's something that the resolution was passed last year and just got done in the summer for the gender neutral bathrooms. And I believe the period products was done sometime last year during the school year. And so that's something that's a basic need. The OCTA bus pass, right? Surveys were done, information was gathered, and people realized that transportation to and from school was a big issue. Transportation in general is an issue, right? Basic need. And students came up with a resolution with an idea, proposed it, got passed by the student body with an overwhelming, with an overwhelming support of, I believe it was around 80% approval. Yeah, and again, another basic need. And again, to go back to the committees a little bit, the diversity committee is something I served on last year, and they did a disability walk through the campus. And as a committee, we also inspected a bunch of different buildings, and those discrepancies that were found, AS played a small role in passing that up through the President's Advisory Council. And again, that's another thing. While campus has been shut down, they addressed every single one of those, right? And they're even looking at, one of the issues was the doors that automatically open if you press the button, not consistently failing, and the maintenance not being picked up fast enough. So one of the things they're developing now, or we're looking into, is one, touch-free, so that people don't have to touch it, right? Spread less COVID. And two, making sure that the maintenance plan is up to date, and that those things get changed out more regularly, right? So those are some basic needs. And then obviously activities, right? So Madison's on the director of activities. There's usually, I say usually because this year is a little different, right? A big concert that's put on in the spring. We usually do a Halloween event, right? And there's all kinds of little things in between. So from, basic enjoyment on campus of creating a more inviting and warm, right, environment. Oh, and even down to Scantrons, the office. That's the other thing I wanted to mention. Small little things, right? During finals week and midterms, you can pop into the office when we're on campus and pick up these kind of things, right? If you need an extra Scantron, if you need a pencil, whatever, these are the kind of things we can help you get. And so whether you have your eye on the big picture and you want to change or help change or form the hiring practices, right, of faculty, or you just want to be a part of creating a warm and fun environment and be a part of making cool, I don't know, decorations or have great ideas for parties or events. We definitely want to hear from you, and there's definitely a place here for you to make that change. And there's so many different facets, committees, ideas, and room for that, for you to come and bring that. So we welcome you, and we hope that you come join us in this, in whatever capacity you can, right? Because we'll have different schedules. So whether that's a representative, a senator, or just popping in every once in a while to give us a fiery public comment, we appreciate it. And I think next is Urooj, and she'll be wrapping up the presentation portion of this.
Yeah, so hi everyone, my name is Urooj, and I'm an AS Senator for this year. So as we've already heard, the motivations and the reasons why you should join AS, of how you can truly make a difference and how you can truly make your voice heard in a place where you truly matter, and there's a place for you to sit down and discuss with us. And, you know, as Madison mentioned, the room where it happens or having a seat at the table, all of those are phrases we use very often to discuss these things. So hopefully now that we've convinced you enough that AS is important and you have a place in it, we also want to discuss how you can be a part of it. So it's already been brought up, you could either be a senator, somebody who attends meetings and serves on certain number of committees, or you could be a representative, somebody who only serves on committees. So what we're going to do is super quickly, just Madison, if you could go to the AS website, we're going to just show you where you can find some of the most important information. So if you could go to fall elections. So when you scroll down, you'll see obviously in big bolded blue letters our email. And what you also see is the election packet and the election PowerPoint. It would be a great idea to look over these, read these, understand what are the rules and regulations. On the last couple of pages, there are forms that you can fill out online and then send them to this email in these beautiful bolded letters. And that's how you can be a part of AS. And it's not a super complicated process at all. As Madison mentioned, we have quite a few spots available. So it's not something that you have to stress over, oh, I don't know if I'm going to get in or not. There's definitely a place for you and you should definitely apply. So going back to the presentation, another way you can contact us and stay updated is our Instagram. So we know, especially for our newer generation, Instagram is the new email, right? This is where we get all of our information. It's either this or Twitter. So we have an Instagram account that is very active. You can see here, and also if Madison, you can go to our Instagram page. It's @FullCallAS. And what we have here are updates on events that happen in school, and also just, you know, we have our Black Lives Matter statement right here. We have Zoom invites now that they're the new thing, and it's a great way for you to communicate with people who are involved in AS, but also just other students. And it's a great way for you to, you know, informally get a lot of this information that you might need to be more active on campus. So if you can just go back to the presentation super quick. So yeah, I think it's a great idea to follow AS, just stay updated. So lastly, let's discuss some other ways to contact us. So we'll be going to this website in a little while, but it's called Cranium Cafe. Oh, hi, David's baby. That totally is adorable. So we're gonna be going to Cranium Cafe in like about a minute or so, which is basically this new website that we're using and Jody Balma strongly advocated for. And it's this online office hours place where there's a student directory. So you can find a lot of the AS executives. There are a few senators on there, but there's also like all these other departments that you can find there, and they all have office hours listed. So you can just go and chat with them, either video chat or the text feature. There's also the AS email right here. This is the official one. There's also a phone number. So whichever way you prefer, there are like a lot of ways to contact us. And then lastly, there, if for this webinar or for info sessions or for any activities, you have any questions, suggestions, feedback, concerns, anything, you can contact me personally. The first email is mine. And then the second one is Madison's, as she is VP of Activities. She's a great person to contact for those things. So yeah, let's just go to Cranium Cafe and look at what that looks like. Not only is this a great resource for you to get in contact with AS in general, but also the honors program. There's like the library is on here, EOPS counseling is on here. You can see Logan's already online. So you can go ahead and knock on his door or send him a message. You can also send us offline messages if we're not online at that point. But usually every time I go in, at least one person does seem to be online during weekdays. So that shouldn't be really a concern. So yeah, that's what Cranium Cafe looks like. If you already don't know what this is, you can go on that link, you can sign up, and you can contact us from there. So those are several ways you can contact us. Obviously, now that we don't have that in-person experience where you run into any one of us and ask questions, that's what I used to do all of last year. I wasn't in AS, but I had a class with the previous AS president, so I would ask her a lot of stuff, and I would stay in contact with Madison and ask her stuff, and that's not something we can do anymore. But in a lot of ways, it has gotten easier too, because you don't have to now track down the person like on campus, or you don't have to go to the AS office personally. You can literally just shoot us an email, a Canvas message, or go to Cranium Cafe and you can get in contact with us. And we're super active members, so we'll get back to you fairly quickly. So that's not something you have to worry about. Like, it's not going to be 3 days later we're answering a simple question about AS. That's not going to happen. So yeah, that's how you can contact us. That's how you can be a part of AS. And if at this point you have any questions, please go ahead and unmute yourself or put them in the chat, and we can all help you answer them. Thank you.
So are there any specific, this is Amber, are there any specific requirements, like specifically that we're gonna need?
That's a great question, Amber. Joe Carithers, our AS advisor, knows exactly them. And so I'm going to say what I think they are, and he's going to 100% jump in and correct me. So I believe you need a minimum 2.0 GPA to be enrolled in at least 5 credits. And if you're a first year, we need to see your high school transcripts. And I think that's it. Oh, and then there's requirements about how many terms you can serve. And it's like 4 for an executive and up to 8 as a senator. Oh, I got a thumbs up, so I did good.
Okay, thank you so much.
If you have any questions but you don't necessarily want to unmute yourself, you can put them in the chat as well, and we'll answer them from there. Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
So my name is Karen, and I just had a question. How do we know if we're like accepted into the program, since like we have to apply, or like are we gonna get like an email like saying that that we're in or something like that?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Yeah, so once again, I think Joe might correct me on this. My understanding is that they will be, if you've already submitted the application form, they'll be reaching out to you soon regarding the next couple of steps. And Joe just put in the chat that the forms are available online. Yeah, so the forms are listed on the website. Urooj showed you where to find them. Once you submit the form, then yeah, AS should be reaching back to you soon about the next couple of steps. The application deadline is until the 16th though, and the elections aren't until like the 22nd through the 27th. So there's still some time before all of that starts happening. I hope
Okay, yeah, because I have submitted an application, so I just wanted to know like when would I get reached back.
Okay. Yeah, it should be happening relatively soon since the deadline is next week. I would wait until the application deadline happens, and then hopefully after that, you should be getting a response relatively quickly. Okay. Yeah. So Joe just put in the chat that we'll be getting in contact with people after the 16th.
Yeah, because once they close, you have to do an orientation to once the application process, like we close the window for it, they'll verify everybody's good and or not or whatever, right, and let you know. And then once you get that in and they have all the applications and windows closed, you have to do an orientation because there are some rules around campaigning. Sorry, that word just like completely left my mouth. Yeah, so there's just a little bit of rules around campaigning and like what you can or can't do, and a little bit of a rundown of like what's going to be expected from you in the next few weeks and what the process looks at after you apply, and required votes and all that kind of stuff. So once you have that orientation, you can do or once they have all the applications, they'll do that orientation. You can cut it.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
And then I see Justin asked, what are the forms for senators and representatives? Yeah, so the form, the Join AS form, you put whether you would like to be a senator or representative, and then yes, you fill out the same information, and then when they get back to you, the process is a little bit different for representatives. Representatives don't have to campaign, so you're kind of just appointed to your role, so you don't have to worry about the election process and like trying to hold a campaign. But yeah, the form on the website is the same for both senators and representatives. You fill that out, mark which one you would like to be, and then AS will get back to you on the next couple of steps, depending on which one you choose.
Also, just really quick, I'd like to keep you guys informed a little bit, right? So if right now you can't be a senator, right, because you have a class on Tuesdays, from that time, or you just have a job or whatever reasons, right? And maybe you want to be a representative, but maybe next semester, your schedule opens up, or you can even make time, right? You can move things around. You can also be appointed as a senator too, I believe, right? So if there are empty points, right, or empty slots. So if we don't have a full Senate, I believe you can be appointed later on. I believe Tina last year was one of those, who is now our AS Vice President, right? So didn't start the year, came on strong in the second half, and parlayed that into a pretty good position, right? So yeah, don't think too if you're like, I don't know if I can, or if this is yeah, so long as there are vacancies. Yeah, so as long as if we don't reach 33 and your schedule opens up in the fall or in the spring, sorry, please feel free to come back. Yeah, we're always looking for more people, and you never know, right? You could have that idea, or you could be that voice, Yeah.
All right. Are there any? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, David.
No, sorry, I was saying yeah to what like Joe said. So representative appointments can happen at any time, and senator appointments can happen. So if we need 23 senators, and if we don't get a full 23, then you, again, like in spring or at a later date, if it opens up for you, you can join, and we go through the same application process. You just won't have to do the election part. And by the way, if there are less, right, so if there's only 20 applicants on the ballot, you just need one vote. That's it, right? So just vote for yourself, do your civic duty to Fullerton College, and you're in. So also don't be like intimidated. These aren't hyper competitive, crazy races. Yeah, we're trying to change that for spring.
Also, something that I would just super quickly want to add is that last year I didn't join AS all year because what was really holding me back was I had just assumed that it would be a huge time commitment. I just didn't have the time because I had school and I was working and all of that. But then only when I just joined this semester, I'm like, okay, it's not that huge of a time commitment. Like you attend obviously the meeting on Tuesday, you're going to be attending committees and you do this planning, but it's not necessarily something that's going to take out like 6 hours out of your week. Like it's not a class, and you really choose how much you want to be a part of it. So like I have just these ideas that just kind of go everywhere. So I just keep throwing them at either Madison or David and be like, okay, do this, let's do this, let's do this. And they're very responsive too. So it's, you can choose what level of participation you want to have in this like government, in this place where you can contribute a lot of those ideas. So if you want to be somebody who just votes and doesn't really contribute that much in terms of ideas, that's fine. Or if you have like 100 different ideas all over the place, that's also fine. So if you're just scared because of that, I would say please don't be, and just go ahead and join.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there any other questions or concerns or comments that any of you would like to share? All right. Well, in that case, I am going to end. Well,
I just have like one last thing real quick.
Sure.
If you don't mind. I just wanted to tell you guys, give one last pitch, right? So regardless, we talked about all these committees. We talked about all these activities we're doing. We talked about these things, right? And it's like a little bit like Madison said, a little bit like Urooj said, a little bit like Kenny said, right? These decisions are happening, right? No matter what, if we take part or not, things are happening. And particularly this year is a very, very crucial point. This is one of those times where a lot of things are in flux. They're starting anti-racism task forces. People are looking at how hiring processes go in regards to racism. There's like all kinds of stuff moving and shaking as we go back to school, right? They're going to examine and look at, sure, in regards to COVID, but they're going to look at everything in regards to how education and how the school functions as a whole. And so whether you take part or not, whether our voice is heard or not, those decisions are made. And so I would implore you, don't let those decisions be made on your behalf, but be a part of them. And that's my last blowhard pitch.
That was very well said, David. Thank you. Okay, well, that pretty much concludes our meeting. Thank you so much for coming. I really hope this was helpful. Your baby's adorable. Okay, I hope in the future that we see you in AS. And please feel free to contact us if you have any new questions or concerns or advice for us. If you just want to talk, please get in contact with us. We'd love to hear from students. Yeah, thank you for coming.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.